You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Mike and Albert each week as they break down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, all your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 226, The Last Jedi deleted scenes and some news stuff. But actually, I think, you know what, guys? I think we're just going to review Ready Player One. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about all the Star Wars references and all the fun stuff that was in there. And you know what? I smiled through the whole film, and it was nice to smile through a film because I hadn't had that in a while. I'm going to leave it at that. Anyway, enough of that. So, guys, anyway, hello, Albert. How are you? I know you're excited. You're excited because the basement launched last week-ish, and it's doing very well. I'm very proud of you.
It's doing well. Better than I expected. I was expecting all of about 2 people, and we've had a lot more than that listen to the show. So thank you, guys.
Exactly. I'm very proud of you, Padawan. But anyway, Jonesy, hello. How are you? Good to see you again.
Hey, good to see you.
Oh, well, look at that. All right. So, let's get into some rumor stuff. And I'm a little hesitant to even talk about this, but it's kind of, you know how this thing goes in the interwebs and stuff. Some stupid thing catches and everyone's talking about it. So we're kind of obligated to talk about it. Now, none of this has been official or anything like that. I personally think it was just a site or people trying to get some kind of attention, or even started out as a joke. And because everyone likes to get their, clicks and everything else, someone went with it, I guess. I don't know what the story is, but it's kind of laughable in a way, is that, Meryl Streep stepping in for Leia in episode 9, and I really just laughed at that, first off. And before we came on air, I joked to Albert and Jonesy saying, "Oh, do they finally want to give an Oscar to a Star Wars actor?" And this would be it right here, because she's won, I don't know what, 500 Oscars or something like that, or nominated 500 times or something. But in any case, I think the bigger issue, the more important issue, is someone recasting Leia or having, Carrie not be in that role. And I'm 100% not for that at all. I don't even like the idea, because I know a lot of people, because who watch Stranger Things like me, the girl that plays 11, they want her to play a younger version of Leia, which could be interesting, but I don't know if I really want to go that route at all, because you'd have to almost do it now where she's like 11, 14 or something like that, because then when you get into A New Hope when she's 18, it's kind of, you can't, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. Jonesy, what are your thoughts on this craziness that we have on the interwebs?
Yeah, I'm not really for it either. It's just let this thing go.
Exactly.
It was enough for fans to go and start a petition, because we hadn't had one in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Like, so. You mean a day? I thought it was a day, but go ahead.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, last I looked, I think they had 8,000 supporters on it. So the crazy part is that people seem, or at least this sect of people seem reasonably okay with this. And I'm with you. I don't want this at all. I'd prefer them just to explain this in 9 of where she is or what happened, whatever they decide to go. And we just move on and respect that. I mean, Meryl Streep's fantastic. They were friends, all that good things in real life, but still, not for me.
I don't even think she would do it myself. I don't think she would.
It would be a bold move if she decided to. That would be a really tough decision to do that. There'd have to be something really special that they had to show.
Yeah, I don't think. I think if she, friend wise, speaking, like, I do have friends. Where you'd be like, nah, I can't do that. That's kind of, it's almost insulting in a way. Like, you wouldn't want to step on those toes or do anything like that or such. But Albert, I'll throw it to you, sir. What say you?
I'm going to say nothing burger on this one too, just because we've gotten the official stance already from a few folks at every level saying, no, we're not going to recast her and all that. Beyond that, I think, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but they left that little piece in there in the novel about Leia, suffering from hypoxia and the, outer space sickness or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called it. Exposure to solar radiation is what they said, right? And to me, that was kind of like, okay, here's the little piece that we're going to maybe use to say that, maybe she just didn't pull through, or she progressively got worse and, her health kind of diminished right after The Last Jedi, the events of The Last Jedi. So I'd like for them just to kind of play that out and let her go.
Yeah.
Rather than, have to write her back in here, and then it's just going to be a hot mess. I can't see them doing it, to be honest.
Well, yeah, then you got what she said. Why are you looking at me? Go follow Poe at the end there. That was just kind of a bit of a passing of the torch moment there for me as well.
Mhm.
And I agree with you. I like the whole fading into the sunset type of thing, and just we'll leave it at that, and we'll move on. And you can't recast her or Mark. I just don't see you could do. Although Mark has gave his blessing for the guy that plays what's his face, the Winter Soldier. There, I forget his name off the top of my head, but
Sebastian Shaw.
Yes, thank you. I knew it was Shaw or something like that. But in any case, which I could maybe. But I don't know. I don't know if we should do that at all. You know what I mean? It's like it's with the solo stuff coming up. Even that's a bit of a risk. But
I wouldn't do it. They might as well just throw Jack Nicholson in there to play Luke. That way we can ensure that we've got 2 Oscars under our belt for a Star Wars movie. At that point.
Why not? And he could do his own version of Joker too. Well, is that he could? But anyway, in any case, so we're gonna leave it at that. We're not in favor. I don't believe any of this. I think this is a lot of a big nothing burger, as you said, Albert. So I don't. We'll leave it at that and we'll move on. But we got a bit of speaking of controversy, we're back to this Postergate thing. This story just will not end, Albert. The posters just keep taking on a life of its own. I feel like we're obligated now, the 3 of us, to go out and hunt all these posters down now, just so we can have them, because we've talked about them a lot. It's like we do the poster breakdown. We did the walking stick breakdown. Now we're going to do the poster breakdown. But anyway, it turns out, and we were not serious when we were talking about it. We kind of went into the more, what if you can't name it Star Wars, what would we go? Well, that was more, we were playing a little bit silly, I guess you could say. So we weren't really focusing on the whole switching of the posters or whatever with the blasters and everything. We kind of didn't take it too seriously, but apparently a lot of people did. And, people got called out on it and social media and everything else and all this stuff. So, but I just wanted to point out, because we did mention it last episode, and that wasn't our focus, but we did mention it and stuff. So apparently it was only subject to Brazil, I believe it was. And I believe Chris, or Jonesy, as I like to call you, has a little bit of information and intel, I guess you could say, on what's going on down in Brazil with the posters there. So I don't know what happened. It is just Brazil, correct, sir?
Yeah, it's just Brazil. And Disney had come out and said they were just promoting a family-friendly movie. But so I reached out to one of our good family friends, Conjit is her name, and she's from Brazil, has family that's living down there, just to kind of get a little better idea of why this kind of change was necessary, because I'm not as exposed to kind of the daily living of what goes on. And she said that, gun violence is actually very rampant in Brazil, especially gangs and small towns and things like that. So the removal of guns kind of, not to put words in her mouth, but this is my opinion, really does seem to be something to do with this of trying to promote something a little different. It's off-putting because the movie's probably still going to have violence. It's probably still going to have gun violence. So don't want to get into that debate too much, but it is in relation to that. So when they come out in the article and they say it's not with the firearm debate, maybe it's not with the debate specifically, but it is definitely related to the general environment down there, especially with younger kids who are getting wrapped up into these things because they really have only been exposed to that kind of world.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I think, and this is where we kind of went last week when we were talking about it, is the fact that, all right, well, you remove the blasters, but when they go and watch it, it's going to be there. So it's like, who are you fooling, really, at the end of the day? And I think the other thing is because Star Wars has been around so long and people know Han Solo, and what comes natural is blasters. Like you think Han Solo, the Falcon, the blaster, Chewie, Lando, all that stuff comes to your mind and stuff like that. So, I mean, I get why they're doing it. I mean, it is what it is, but I'm just saying it just seems kind of, I don't know. But anyway, Albert, what do you, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, well, and it's not too far-fetched I mean, apart from the fact that it would be kind of ludicrous, and we kind of talked about that in the last show. It would be ludicrous for them to do it here, I think, in the U.S., and I'm glad to hear that they're not. But to be honest, doing it down in Brazil is probably makes more sense. But you got to remember, if we go back to like 2001, when we had the 20th anniversary release of E.T., you guys remember that? They pulled the handguns out of that scene.
Yeah, walkie-talkies.
They turned them into walkie-talkies, and that was, at the height of just after, a lot of terrible things that were happening here. And that was a decision they made. And since then, they've released the Blu-ray version, and they put the guns back in there. So it wouldn't be unprecedented for somebody to for a company to do this, I mean, if they're going to go so far as to alter the movie, what's a simple movie poster, right? So it's not far fetched, I don't think. And to be honest, I don't have a lot of contacts in Brazil, but I do keep up with it for other reasons and the political scene down there. And yeah, it is pretty bad. And I can see where maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe they do release it later, or they go back and re-release these posters at some point. But whatever, they've got to do what's best for them. And if that's what they felt, then I can totally see it.
Besides, it's a poster at the end of the day. I mean, it's not, But anyway, Jonesy, go ahead. You were saying something?
Oh, no, I said agreed. I mean, and they want people to go see the movie, right? So they don't want parents or whomever may limit that right off the bat because of what they see in the poster. So I can understand the marketing campaign side of it.
All right. Well, we'll get into a little bit more with Solo. We got Phil Lord and Chris Miller getting a executive producer credit on Solo, which actually really means a whole lot of nothing. It really doesn't mean anything other than they were kind of involved, but I mean, JJ had one in, I think, The Last Jedi. Whatever. It doesn't. It's it is what it is, so to speak. It's like making me an executive producer on Tarkin's Top Shelf because I edit the show every now and then or whatever. But it's kind of like, it doesn't mean too much. But Jonesy, I'll throw it to you because you had some stuff to say about it.
I was wondering if this was a bit of a jab at Kathleen Kennedy because she's usually the executive producer, right? So the executive producer, the job title, really they control everything to make sure the movie's on time, it's on budget, it meets the artistic and technical standards, to quote the Media Match article that I found. And so, Kathleen Kennedy very much fits that bill.
Yeah.
And these guys are, if you look at the Producers Guild website, these guys kind of fit more into a producer / co-producer type of role rather than executive. So, I mean, this is clearly part of a settlement to just, give them credit. They didn't want to give them director's credit. So, but this is very much titles mean absolutely nothing.
Oh yeah. It's that's just how it is. They had to give them something. I mean, they couldn't, you know what I mean? I mean, they're not going to say.
No, I mean, they could have claimed director. I think, if to be fair, I think, but if you go by the rule book, because they had filmed more than like
90%
of it, like that, whatever the rules are.
Yeah, but didn't they get rid of that 90% though?
Yeah, it's not clear how much they reshot.
Yeah, I mean, Howard came in and reshot a lot of it, so that kind of took that out. But I mean, maybe it's good. At least they're getting credited for something, because I mean, their work is there, and I don't know. Had they not taken this executive producer title, then would they have been even in the credits period, which I think would have been kind of a slight, because there is a lot of footage there that they did shoot, right?
Sure. Yeah, so, and they put the cast together and the story. I mean, so there were a lot of things that are going to have Ron Howard even said it, and it's got their fingerprints all over it. And,
right.
He's of course been very polite and gracious about all of it too. So
interesting.
A gentleman.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into, now I don't have any details on this, but apparently there was issues with the Amazon, The Last Jedi Blu-ray stock issues. I don't know, Jonesy, what's going on here? I didn't even hear about this till I get on air here. So take it away.
Yeah, there were there's articles that show up with so much, I don't know, divisiveness with Last Jedi. When Amazon has had stock issues of the physical copies of the movie, there are some outlets who have been maybe more as clickbait, but they're kind of taking it to extreme that, they're not keeping it in stock, or maybe Disney is putting it in short runs so they can't get it, and those types of things. But really, this happens with most Disney releases going back as early as like 2014. So I mean, even like Thor, these things usually are in short supply or just non-existent for a while through Amazon. So you have to kind of get them to your retail outlets, your Targets, your Best Buys, your Walmarts or whatever. And even then you'll see them go short on stock too. So this seems to be more of a general Disney distribution, and Amazon and Disney specifically have had a very rocky relationship in the movie marketing part of this with the distribution of the films. So it's much ado about nothing, but there were a few outlets that had reported this as kind of a bigger deal, and there were a few that very much cleared this up. But again, this happens for most Disney releases. Is it the issue of like, all right, they see this problem on Amazon, and then they go to like say Target, and there are like 100 of them on the shelf. Oh yeah, very much.
They take their picture.
Amazon's your number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon's your number one online retailer, right? So if Amazon doesn't have it, then it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
right? It's like the Jedi archives; it's just not there. Not on the planet. You can't get it, and so it's funny. So it very much goes to that.
It's funny because I was watching one video quickly because she was talking about the videos going on on sale or whatever. She didn't mention Amazon or anything, but she went to Target and they didn't have anything there was a lot in Target. Then she went to Best Buy, and Best Buy, they were bought. Like, people were buying them all. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, there's so many factors in this. Everyone's grasping for straws to get their argument. Oh, it stinks, so this is the reason why. Or it's great, see, everyone's buying it, that type of thing. Relax, people. Calm down. I'll leave it at that, you know?
Yeah, the thing with our Best Buy is it seems like they stock up on their Steelbook.
Yeah.
And that's really about it. They don't stock up as much on the non-collectors type edition ones. So they tend to go really fast. But yeah, I guarantee if you go down to the Target or whatever in about a week or so, you're going to have a harder time finding it. It's going to be in shorter supply.
Well, I think it's the toy sales too. Like, people think it's going to be a repeat of the Last Jedi toys, so they kind of just go with that or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, Albert, any more thoughts? I don't think you have any real. Go ahead.
Nope. No. I just do digital only.
Yeah, me too. Oh, that's the other factor. I think digital is more prevalent now. Like, that's normally what I do. I don't get a physical copy, and I used to get, my chops busted on here all the time because I wanted the digital. Yeah. I didn't want a physical copy of it. Like, people thought it was alien, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's just, why do I need another thing that's going to collect dust when I can just click the button on the TV and it works? I don't know, but that.
Yeah, and there could be a larger issue here, a more systemic issue with these distribution companies and the retail and online stores just trying to adjust to accommodate for the shift. I mean, I don't know, I'm not in the industry, so I wouldn't know, but my guess is there's a settling period that we're kind of going through right now where people are trying to gauge how many to produce versus how many to offer online and that kind of thing. And maybe that's just part of the pains. And Disney is, the canary in the coal mine because they own so many freaking movies that, they're the ones that they're feeling it first. So who knows?
Yeah, well, that and everyone's an expert on shipping and supply and demand all of a sudden. But, anyway, we'll leave it at that, I guess. Yeah,
if Amazon and Disney are going at it, it's probably a margins thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we'll see. All right, well, moving on. The last bit of news that we have, and it's kind of just a minor thing I wanted to mention because EA, I guess they posted a job thing online with a lead online engineer, I believe it is, because they want to do an open world. In the title, it said Star Wars Open World Project, which is like what I'm playing right now, Far Cry 5, where you walk around and do a bunch of missions and stuff like that. And that sounds appealing to me. I don't know how they could pull that off. I mean, would we get 1,000 Jedi running? It's almost like an MMO. We can have all these Jedi.
Yeah, so we already got SWTOR. Yeah. Why are we going here?
Well, because SWTOR is a horrible game, but that could be why.
Oh.
And I'm going to get hate mail for that. But, I'm Grumpy Mike these days, apparently, so we'll leave it at that. But I just thought it was interesting. Albert, what do you, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of a Star Wars open world game? I know we have, SWTOR, as you've mentioned, and stuff like that. I mean, what could it possibly be? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see something more on a larger scale, at least on the console systems, just because we do have a lot of games on the mobile platforms, which are cool. But it would be nice to get something else
other than first person. Other than a first person shooter.
Yeah. And then don't get me wrong, that game was it is. I think it's still a lot of fun. And I know Jim's still playing it every day of his life. But
he's the only one. But
he's the only one. But yeah, it would be cool to get another game, and if it's open environment thing, that would be really cool. I don't think they would do the MMO at this point.
No, that's too. No, I don't think they would do that. But
I was thinking, maybe if they did something like Overwatch, but based in the Star Wars universe, that would be kind of neat to do.
Interesting.
I don't know. That's just my
Jonesy.
thought.
Yeah, this is my guess. This is probably the next iterative step with the game that Visceral Games was developing, and then EA shut that studio down. And they said that, it sounded like they had the intent of taking that game and just retooling it, but it wasn't going in the right direction. And so I don't want to rehash all of that stuff, but to me, it sounds like it's very likely whatever Visceral Games was working on, and this is that next step to move it in the direction that EA thought it needs to go. But yeah, you guys seem to be loving Far Cry, and there's a whole other slew of other games. So, that was what, like 1313 was supposed to be too, I think, right?
Yeah.
It was this kind of open world underground type of story that you can walk through. So, yeah, that'd be an interesting.
Because I like open world games myself. I like just there's times.
I'm terrible.
Well, I'm horrible at games to begin with, but I like the whole walking around like I am in Far Cry in Montana, because I kind of want to live in Montana when I retire someday. Just don't tell my wife and my family that. They don't know that yet. But anyway, that's just a joke. So that whole fantasy, just wandering around doing what you want, is kind of appealing to me. And to do that with Star Wars would be pretty interesting. But, I don't know how they could pull that off. I mean, you're stuck to one planet. Could you go to another one? I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they pull that off. It's almost like impossible to make that perfect Star Wars game. I've always said there hasn't really been a decent Star Wars game since, I guess, Battlefront 2, the original, and maybe Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter was pretty good. I liked that one back in the day. But all right, well, let's get into. We got a little bit of wrap up from last week that we didn't get to, and Jonesy was just couldn't wait to talk about this. Is the Caretakers? He's just so enamored with the Caretakers. So we figured we would talk about that. There's a lot of things we didn't get into with the novel, with Poe, Finn, and everybody else. But we tried to just cover what appealed to us and what we thought would appeal to you guys. But at the end, with the Caretakers and Luke's lightsaber and stuff, it was interesting. We just didn't get to that. But Jonesy, I'll throw it to you. Where were you going with this, sir?
Well, yeah, when we did our novelization story, we wanted to really kind of focus on the things that were unique to the book or kind of gave us a different flavor. And the Caretakers of the Lanai, this epilogue area, was interesting because we got to just know a little bit about them. And hearing the stories that outsiders, as they called them, had come and gone for generations. And it wasn't just Jedi, although most of them seemed to be Jedi, but it was often kind of these darker characters too. I think they called them angry. So I'm assuming those were, dark force users, maybe Sith, that had less respect for some of these things. But I just thought there wasn't much to it. But it was just interesting to hear about it, that even with Luke gone and his quote unquote niece, which was probably another one of these, I think Albert had mentioned it last one, of these kind of misdirect type of moments, like with the wife scene, that people might kind of grab onto, whether it means anything or not, it's up for debate. But as soon as they left, life goes on. They had to prepare for the next set of visitors. And I just thought it was a nice little recap and something that gave us a little more about them. And again, as we mentioned last week, these are the things that the books really do nicely, that you get these little flavors of the environment and of some of the characters, even if they're not essential to the story, that they're just fun to hear and fun to hear. So I really enjoyed this part of it. And of course, Mark Thompson did a nice kind of recap of kind of a monologue for a race, if you will.
Oh, yeah. I think it.
Yeah, and I thought, no, I was going to say that was, for me, this was, even though it was just a small bit in the novel and obviously wasn't in the movie, it was one of the parts that I really found myself, I read it and then went back and reread it again. Just because they kind of throw a lot at you that you could really, that plays with your mind, things that may not ever materialize. Because, I hate to say it, but in the Star Wars that we're in today, where at least now where, things are laid down and you think, okay, there's a chance they could build on them, but maybe not. They may not build up on them. But the one of the parts that I thought was really interesting was the head caretaker, Alcida Aoka, I guess is her name. I didn't hear the novel. I read it. That's how I read it. But she was the head mother that was kind of running the whole monastery kind of thing. And she made a comment that she took the robes and she put them away. She grabbed the boots and grabbed all the star compass and the items and all that, and that those items were going to be returned. They had been returned to the island. So at one point they were on the island and they were, someone took them out and now they're back again, and she put them away for the next person to come and go. So just little things like that are just really interesting to think about, that, that star compass and, his weapon is there now. She put that away as well. She makes mention of that. So it'd be cool if they built on that, later down, maybe not in this saga, but in another one or some spinoff series where someone goes back to the island and we get to see these characters again and we get to see the compass come out and learn more about it and all that. So I think it lays some really cool groundwork for some kind of off-spinning stories to take place later down the road. But yeah, this was a really good, really cool scene. Obviously they couldn't have thrown it in there. They were already at 2.5 hours, and we'll talk about the deleted scenes here in just a minute. But,
I would have taken it over Broom Boy. But
and that's what I was going to say that, and that's kind of my overall. To be honest, that's kind of one of my overall thoughts on the deleted scenes. Is some of this stuff is I thought was really good and compelling stuff that I would be like, okay, well, where else could we have cut things instead and put this stuff in?
You know what would have been funny? Well, first off, I want to know what the overdue charge is on the things that they brought out of the Jedi temple there. That's going to be one hell of a fee for that, like a millennia of having a book out. But anyway, it would have been funny, how they're packing their stuff away. One of the big, little banter with like Ryan Johnson and the fans and everything. One of the fun things, I guess, because a lot of the stuff isn't that fun, is Luke, when he dies or becomes a Force, wherever we're going with that at some point, is his metal hand. If it clunked down, maybe it would have been cool if like she was packing things away and she packed his hand away. I don't know. That would have, because I'm weird.
Like Terminator 2.
Exactly. Maybe do the thumb, have it a little thumb. I don't know. But, in any case.
And with Ryan Johnson's quirky sense of humor, I could almost see it. Like he just didn't think of it.
Yeah. It probably like after he's like, oh, I should have did that. But in any case, I thought it was interesting that like these people keep coming. And I get the sense that Rey is going to come back and maybe get Luke's lightsaber. I think. I don't know. Yeah. I just got that feeling. I don't know if we'll see it in 9, because I don't know if JJ will go back and try to tie that end in. I don't know if he'll do that. I'm just speculating. At some point, we'll probably get a book, comic, or something where she goes back, and because there's got to be, they're setting up that whole banter with her and the caretakers, and maybe they'll finally accept her, because she drove them nuts, but they were willing to accept it. And then you think about all these like Sith or dark side users that have come. And kind of they've just like, yeah, whatever. They're doing their thing. They're bad people, whatever. They're into the whole dark arts or whatever. And they just keep going on about cleaning the thing and doing what they got to do and just going on about their lives, living the simple life, which is interesting itself when you compare it to like the Jedi and stuff like that. But in any case.
Yeah, they were the Molly maids of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, it's a good living, I guess,
Yeah, they did their job well.
Yes, they did. I'm curious what they think of Luke after blowing up the temple. Not the temple, but the little hut after. That was bigger than Rey's blaster there. So, But anyway, all right, let's get into, unless you got anything else to say, gentlemen.
Let's do it.
No.
All right, let's get into these deleted scenes here. So we're going to start. I saw most of these. There's some I knew when I was watching them. I'm like, I know I missed a few. I saw 12 of them. So I missed 2. So you guys will have to fill me in on those, and we'll go from there. But we'll start with the alternate opening, which wasn't really that exciting. Chris, it was still not fully developed there. It was, the ships weren't CGI'd enough or whatever. But I actually liked the shot. The one thing that jumped out at me, and I kind of wish it was in there, is because I think it's the coolest thing. But the way the camera panned down and it was Finn, and the way it came down, like it was like you could see what Ryan was going with the space and then the bubble and then kind of him there. I thought that was pretty cool. I like that technique, and I get why he cut it. So I don't have a problem with him cutting it. I don't like it. Overall, I don't like the whole opening that was being shot there, but I like that whole going to the bubble, like it looks like the horizon of a planet, and then it's
a planet. And that's exactly what he, you're hitting on exactly what he said too. He called it clever, that it was a clever idea. But he really wanted just to cut to the chase, and no pun intended there. I kind of chuckled when he said that, but he said he wanted to cut to the chase of what was going on. But yeah, he said he was going for clever and said it was a clever idea, but in the end it didn't pan out. So, but I thought it was kind of a neat little thing, but I can see where he was coming from. It just took a lot longer to get in.
Everything else just seemed, with the panning out and then the ships and everything, it just kind of lost after that one little unique moment. You couldn't go with it. So that was a good decision on it. See, I can defend Ryan. See, he did a good decision there. And he had a cool shot. And it was such a good shot that I would have liked that shot, which is, and that's something new and different in Star Wars. I would have loved that. But again, overall picture, it wasn't going to work, I think.
And it would have felt like it was reused too, because if you go back to the first trailer, when it opens up on the rock and you think that's the outer space,
it's the rock,
and it's just rock, and then you see Rey's hand.
That's true.
That was a cool moment when it first launched. And I thought, that's kind of clever that he did that. But if I'd have seen it again, I'm like, okay, you've already done this before, dude. So
yeah, well, maybe that's why he did it in the thing, because he knew he couldn't really cut it in the movie there. Yeah, so I don't know. It was a curious shot, and I hope he gets to do it someday in something, maybe kind of revisit that, maybe not in the Star Wars movie, but any case, I think Poe's comedy when he was talking to what's his face, because when he says, "Well, we knew that was coming" or whatever. I thought that was pretty good. That part,
I liked that.
Yeah, those.
Yeah, I liked Poe's. It actually gave us a reason for him to get out there in the X-wing and do something.
Yeah, exactly, and that was great. Like that was to me the perfect Star Wars comedy that I think fell short in the rest of the movie. Like that was like, yeah, all right, that's typical Star Wars comedy humor or whatever you want to call it. I thought that was a great moment and such. But Jonesy, take it away. What else did you like there?
No, yeah, you guys hit it on the head. I think the one thing interesting about the Finn pan down is that there's a window behind him too. So it's like you're looking out of the window above him as you pan down too. So it's not even that you're in this transition of being outdoors or outside the spaceship, I guess is more appropriate. But you were actually just looking through the window and down into it, which my slow brain, it took me a minute or two to catch that was the angle of the shot.
Yeah.
But Poe's part I thought was great. I liked that part. I gave him a reason to be out there. It was that subtle Star Wars humor one-liner. He delivered it on the money. And I thought the scene with the planet of interacting, I can't remember her character, but Billy Lord's character, but
Onyx, something like that. Onyx or something. What is that her name?
Yeah, something like that. That was a little less forced than the scene that they actually used in the movie. The acting was a little bit better. Because I was a little over the top in the movie, but this one just worked a little bit better, I thought. So it was interesting how they had to use what they used, which I think overall worked better than all of this together. But this one scene I thought was great.
Yeah, because I think that, at least in that take, I think the dialogue in the banter, I don't want to call it banter, but whatever you want to call it, between
the exchange.
The exchange worked very well with the two of them. I thought it was pulled off very well, and Billy got to show her skills a little bit better than what we've seen, so to speak. Like, I agree with you. Like, in the movie, it seems forced, but when you think about it, you had to sacrifice some stuff to get to what you did in the beginning anyway. So it kind of worked out in the end, so to speak. So, I mean, there was
but it was too slow. It was too slow overall, though. The way they did it was the better decision. Yeah,
true. And then, like, it would have added, like, he was, one thing Ryan was talking about, like, at the beginning of this is, like, I had to cut, we had like a 5-hour movie. I had to keep cutting and cutting. And that's a process. That's what you go through anyway. And it stinks that some
little things add up.
Yeah, well, exactly. And he had those cool shots, those unique shots, but you couldn't go with them. And I'm sure, I mean, editing the show for a podcast, I know it's frustrating sometimes when you got to edit some stuff, but when it comes to a movie, I'm sure it's even more heartbreaking if you have to take something out. But in any case, let's get to Paige's gun jams, which wasn't anything spectacular, so to speak, but for some reason, it reminded me of Revenge of the Sith in the beginning when they're flying through the wreckage and the ships fighting each other a little bit. Like the way the flying style was, I guess you could say, initially when they were flying in, and then, I don't know, it just made me feel that way. But I don't know, Albert, what did you think of this? I mean, it wasn't anything too spectacular, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it was a smaller scene, so there really wasn't a whole lot here. He kind of mentions that they had to cut it because they had introduced the bombers later.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense. And that, this is kind of an obvious cut to me. But the only other thing that I put down in my notes, at least, was that we got to see the medallion again. And a lot of the scenes that were cut, well, I shouldn't say a lot, at least two of the scenes that were cut, they kept showing the medallion, and it was kind of this big thing in the movie. But unless you read the what was the other book called? The Squadron book.
Cobalt Squad.
Cobalt. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, it happens.
Now, in Cobalt Squadron, you get more on the medallion and what it all means, but it almost felt like they were trying to put more emphasis here in the movie through this scene and a scene later on when Rose bites what's-his-face's hand, that kind of thing, or finger. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. There's really not a whole lot here, and it just makes sense that they would have to cut it because of the timing sequence.
Well, for me, it just seemed like it was kind of just pointless to begin with anyway. I mean, all right, we established she's a gunner. I think if they had a little bit more story with Paige and introducing her in somewhat a way, this would have been useful. But for overall, I thought it was kind of, what's the point really? And I obviously, like you said, it's obvious. It's an obvious cut. Like you wouldn't put this in the movie. There's no reason to do such a thing. Jonesy, what do you think?
Yeah, it was a bit cliche, getting stuck and then getting the gun to fire right at the last second. I thought the previous dogfight was kind of neat, though, at the opening of the sequence. But I thought the touching of the medallion and the ripping of the mask off were reused, though, weren't they?
I think that was.
Yeah. So I think they were reused. So I mean, that's just the the benefits of cutting the movie. But yeah, I mean, kind of a throwaway scene. But I thought the previous dogfight was kind of neat.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because that part reminded me of like Revenge of the Sith when they're dodging through the ships a little. So I think that's what's sinking in my head. But anyway, all right. So Luke has a moment now. I just want to say this scene was blown up out of proportion because, and I hate to even say this because it was an overhyped scene, like deleted scene. I think it failed on so many levels, and maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe you all disagree with me, but I think Mark failed to pull it off for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. It just seemed like he didn't. I mean, yeah, there was a bit of a tear there. I get that, and I liked when he put his head down and there was a bit of sorrow there. I just didn't feel like he pulled it off. I like the concept of it because I also like when Luke shuts the door and the light's on his face and he looks out and Ray's shining in his face. Technically, the ray of light is on him, really. And I thought that was a cool symbolism going on there. So there are some unique things that he did with that. But overall, I don't know if he cut this because Mark didn't deliver it or it was just, again, one of those things where I got too many other things going on and we can't have this here. I thought it was just kind of weak compared. Maybe it's just me because everyone was hyping it up prior to me watching it. It's almost like, I don't know. It just seemed that way to me. Jonesy, what about you?
Or this might be my last episode on the podcast because I actually thought this was pretty good.
Wait a minute. Why would this be a last episode? Because we disagree? That's
disagreeing with the Emperor here.
No. Well, believe me, I've been through far worse things on this show than that. So, but go ahead.
No, this actually may have been one of my favorite of all the deleted scenes, just because you actually get this look into Luke in his private moments, right? Which we got a little bit of in the movie where he, looks at the robes and then things like that. But this was actually, actively saying no to Rey and then coming back and having this wait. And I liked the cut with, and Ryan said this in the commentary as well, of him having his head down and then cutting to Leia having her head down, which I thought also tied right into the book. Having, we just got off the book podcast and going through that, and knowing that in the book she was having this, outward force moment and looking for him, and that, it's a bit of a camera trick kind of thing, but at the same time, I just thought that was a great tie-in, especially if you knew what the book. And I thought that was fun. I perked up about that. I was like, that's really cool. I really like this one. I thought they should have kept it.
Well, yeah, because then, as you were saying, I think last week when you were talking about, because now when you see Leia, and it's just kind of like she's just thinking of everything that happened around her, when there's actually probably more to it. I think that's what you were saying last week, if I remember right.
Yeah, because they trimmed it, right? Yeah. So in the finished movie, they just went straight to her with her hand over her mouth, not her head down. And man, just like we said, that 1 or 2 seconds right there changes the scene just ever so slightly. That gives you a little bit more to think about. And I thought that was nice.
Albert?
Well, it just may be Jonesy and I that are doing this from now on. So thanks, Mike, for joining us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and watch Ready Player One. Okay.
Yep. Good night, everybody. So I actually, so I did like the scene too, only because it's Luke, and you're never gonna get me to say that there's not enough Luke in movies. But I won't rehash some of the stuff that you guys have already said. But the other things that stood out for me, when that scene first opens up and you've got the wide kind of shot, it kind of gets pretty tight on his face, but you get to see that little the Ponapin astrogator. I don't know if you guys remember that from the visual dictionary. But it's like that thing that's sitting there on the table. I don't know what it does, but I always, when I saw it, I was like, that looks kind of cool, but it looks like it's, kind of like you would use it with a star map of some type, maybe his compass. And you also get to see Luke's little Weber grill in the back there. Yeah. He's got like a little black Weber grill in the back. The TIE Fighter
Weber grill, yeah. And but the thing you were talking about, they look like the lightsabers on the table, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, well, there's that thing. I don't know what that is. That's not part of it. That's something else. And I did go through the visual dictionary trying to find a picture of it, and maybe I just missed it, but I didn't see anything that looked like that. At least it stood out, unless it's in his backpack, which I didn't, we don't know what the contents are in there, but it's the black object right in front of that is that
okay,
the Ponapin astrogator.
So. All right.
You know what this reminded me of as well? In the Art of book, the scene where they had Luke and they had the dark force behind him, like the Sith spirit. This kind of reminded me of that setup just a little bit.
I could see that. I could see that. Yeah.
Did that strike you there?
Yeah, a little bit. Now when you think about it, because it was a wider shot, right?
It was,
So
but just the framing.
Yeah, and the way that took place, if I remember right, in the art book, it's kind of like that too. It's kind of like wide, and he's kind of like sulking in a way when he's. I think that's how it goes anyway. But continue, sir.
No, and the other thing was the table that he's he's got the table that he's in front of or behind.
The picnic table.
Yeah, it looks like a door though. It looks like it's actually the door to his hut. I may be wrong. It may just be that's the way they build the tables back then. But it looks like that's the actual door. And now he's using the door from the X-wing as the door.
But it's sturdier, I guess you could say. Well, all right.
But anyways, I don't know. It was a cool scene, and I can't remember. I think he said they just cut it because of pacing again. I think it was the reason they cut this particular scene.
I think it was
the reason for most of the cuts.
I think as much as I say I think it would have been good having it in there, and maybe because like you said, Albert, not having you can never have enough Luke, I guess you could say, especially in the sequel trilogy. You'd kind of wanted more of those moments with Luke anyway, or at least those moments where you kind of get that internalizing, like with the book when we first. He's got his thoughts and everything like that. So it would have been nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are moments in this deleted scene that I liked and I thought were interesting, and I liked what he was doing. Like I said, with the light on Luke's face, and it's actually Rey looking at him, and that whole symbolism stuff there. I thought there was some interesting things. I would have kind of
maybe that's it, Mike.
Yeah,
maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that conflict. You actually get that sense of conflict still in him.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, and I think maybe that's what would have been nice. I don't know. But anyway, we'll move on. We can agree to disagree and still be friends.
Well, I'm keeping track. So if Jonesy and I said yes to this one, then that's a point for the deleted scene. So right now the score is deleted scenes 1, original 2.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's cool. Go. All right. So now Poe, not much of a sewer, which I thought it was good. The one thing it did make me think of, and I know you guys will probably agree with me. I think maybe our audience will agree with me, is when they're in the talking to each other in the hallway, and they're going back and forth, and people are cutting between them and stuff. It just reminded me of Empire Strikes Back with Han and Leia, and I'm like, oh, so this is where we're going, which is fine. I don't have a problem with it. I just thought it was funny. It just made me think of that. I don't know, but I thought that was pretty good. Yeah, go ahead, Jonesy.
It was touching. Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah, no, I don't. You know what I'll say. This is though. I think the deleted scenes with Finn, for the most part, and when we get to the Phasma thing, we won't spend too much time on Phasma because we've already talked about it, kind of. I think the scenes with Finn in these deleted scenes added a lot to his character. Like I thought he was.
Oh yeah,
I thought he was
absolutely
better. I wish, but I get it why he cut these things. I mean, you could have cut out Canto Bight and maybe just kept these scenes in. I guess you could have did it that way. But I thought it's just too bad that we didn't have enough developed for Finn, I guess is where I'm going with it. But I'll throw it to you, Albert.
So if you've listened to The Basement, you'll know that I'm not above calling myself out for really stupid things or liking stupid things.
Oh, you're going to call me out now? Is that
no, I'm going to call myself out again. So when I first saw the subtitle come up, I thought it said not much of a sewer. Yeah. And I thought, what in the heck are they talking? And I actually watched the entire scene. I was like, I don't get it. Maybe they missed it. And then, so I'm an idiot. Yeah. It's sewer.
That's okay. That's all right.
Anyways, so this scene was the first thing that I thought of. And so what I did is I watched them. Well, I've seen the scenes already without the commentary a few times, but I know the very first time I saw this scene, it immediately reminded me of Empire, where Han and Leia are standing in the tunnels, and there's people kind of walking in front or in between them as they're talking. And it wasn't until I watched the commentary with Rian Johnson that he actually said that's exactly what he was going to. He was watching Empire, and that was his inspiration for shooting this. And he liked the fact that it just kind of brought that scene to life. That other things were going on in the midst of that conversation.
No,
so
I thought
that was a cool shot.
I got to congratulate him for pulling that off, because I thought of that, as I said, and you did as well, and I'm sure many others did as well. But continue, sir.
Yeah, and it's such a standout moment in Empire. Like,
the tension.
I won't. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a cool scene, and it, you get the little bromance, you get some more of that going on. I'll just jump to the very end, because that was the only other note I took was, I thought his line about I was busy saving the entire fleet.
That was great.
And then, they immediately cut to Leia just slapping the crap out of him.
That was awesome.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, does this give, when they were going back and forth and they were talking, does this give Poe more motivation for, say, to help with Rey, to go off and do what he had to do for his friend Rey? I don't know, Jonesy, what do you think?
I I liked the exchange. Well, this whole sequence I thought was really good. I liked it all the way through. I liked it because it started to show Finn's doubts coming out of it, that he hadn't really changed much from the last movie, and I thought it bridged some of his actions of trying to go, especially with the later with the next deleted scene. I thought these two together were really, really great. That you could actually see that, yeah, he gets up to speed and he's perplexed. Like, how did we not win? This sounds like we won. Why doesn't it feel like winning? And then he still has all these doubts that, hey, I'm not really part of this. This isn't my show. This is y'all's. So I thought that was great. And I agree with you, Mike. I think the scenes that Finn were in, generally speaking, did a lot to give us more insight into his character, where he was at and where he was going throughout the movie, that the final movie, kind of missed out on in some areas. But I agree wholeheartedly with Albert. The Saving the Fleet was a total classic, Star Wars comic line. And then Leia giving a good smack was amazing.
True. And that was very Star Wars comedy. Again, I think they did it right there. And I don't know why I know why he cut it and stuff. That's not a big deal. But we get into the whole, it's kind of weird that you recorded that, which is a mirror of what R2 does with Luke here. And this is where I'm talking about with Finn and having that motivation to get involved into the fight and to help Rey. Like, again, I feel like these deleted scenes did more for his motivation, because when we go off to Canto Bight, it's kind of like, all right, we know you want to go save Rey, but it's kind of, I think this gives it more depth, I guess you could say. But I understand why he cut it. I don't blame him for cutting it. It's just too bad. It's, he had to make the tough call at the end of the day and cut it. So, Albert, what say you on this? Would this make it seem like he has more motivation, or do you think it was already established? Like Ryan said, I can let the fans kind of put two and two together and go from there. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I would say that had they left the scene in here, it would have probably put some doubts. Having not read the novel yet, it would have put more doubt in my mind as to whether Finn really could just leave Rey. Even, is he really that much of a? Had he not changed? I guess it would have muddied the waters for me in terms of where his motivation was, which I don't know that would really be a bad thing, because it would allow him to have a little bit more character development. But he did mention, like you said, it was cut. This was another one that was cut for pacing. He went on to say that if you don't need a scene, you get rid of it if you need to. I don't know. It exists with. It was kind of nice because it was a callback, because the hologram thing. But then we were going to get that later with R2 and the original hologram from A New Hope. So, but yeah, I don't know. I guess if I'm gonna score this one, I would say the original. I don't think we really needed it at the end of the day.
Fair enough. Jonesy, anything else to say?
Yeah, we didn't need it, but I liked it. And I thought the line was amusing too. And the only thing I didn't like about the scene was kind of BB-8 going crazy.
Spinning around?
Spinning.
Yeah,
spinning. Yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like about it. It was just a little over the top. But again, the humor this felt real. I mean, this was just more natural, and I liked it. But it was a good tie-in from the previous scene. So if you were going to keep the previous scene, then this one makes sense because he's in doubt and you need it. But if you've cut both and you just kind of assume he's going to pick up right where he was, then you don't need it. But I liked it though.
Well, it seems to me, maybe I'm wrong. And then we'll get into the next one here, is like they were filming in sequence, like of the events. Like it seemed like that's the way they were going, where they were going to show everything, or they were doing that, at least film wise, they were doing that. And then they'll decide what to cut out. And it's, you got to make that choice. I guess maybe the deciding factor is, okay, R2 was going to do the recording, which is more rewarding, I think, than, doing this with Finn. Although this gives Finn a purpose and a spark to get into the fight, I guess you could say. But, I would agree. I think he made the right call at the end of the day. But in BB-8 spinning around like a crazy man, I don't know. My daughter would probably love it. But anyway, let's get into your favorite people there, the caretakers, Jonesy. Sizing up Rey. I thought it was an interesting thing. I know why they didn't go with it. I mean, it wasn't really needed, so to speak, when they're sizing her up. But I like the interaction Luke had with the main caretaker there. The way they talked, it was very casual, Mark nailed this one. I got to give him that. And it was fun. I thought it was great. And with Luke, when he's, she says, "Oh, my blaster went off" or whatever, and stuff. My question, and that obviously was in the movie, I'm just going to bring it up here real quick, is the fact that it's almost, I want to know if he knows she's lying. Like there's something going on. Like he gives that look like a dad would give. And I've done this with my daughter, Morgan. And, I know when she's kind of fibbing. And I don't reveal that I know that. I'm just waiting for her to kind of reveal it to me through her actions or whatever she says or something. But anyway, I'll throw it to you, Albert. What'd you think of the caretakers sizing up Ray?
This one, I thought that this was such a short scene that I kind of wish they would have just left it. Like, okay, so what? You added 15 more seconds. Just leave it in there.
I agree with you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say so it was so short that I don't understand why they cut it. And I thought what they did with like the puppet itself was really cool. It looked real. I mean, you can almost see her like scolding her or keeping an eye out. And it was funny because she's sitting there with that knife, and it's almost like kind of like a prison scene where that guy's going to shank that person later down. Yeah. A couple minutes later. You stole my cigarette.
You're going to get it later.
Yeah, right. And I like that we got Luke speaking the whatever native language that was. It immediately made me think of like Anakin when he comes back
with Watto.
When he's talking to Watto in the Phantom Menace, and then when he comes back in Attack of the Clones, he speaks that language. Both times it just I don't know, it gets your attention, which I thought was kind of neat. But yeah, I really like the stink eye she was giving her there at the end. But I don't really understand at the end of the day, if it's 2 hours and 30 minutes and it's 2 hours and 30 minutes and 15 seconds, what is that 15 seconds cutting you get you? So
I don't know if he cut it because, they had the moment with the boulder falling over and you see them going, that whole crazy thing. So maybe there was like, all right, I have enough of this already. But I actually would rather have had them cut the boulder scene and just went with this where they're sizing her up and looking at her. But doesn't that kind of contradict with the whole, they kind of just do their thing, whether who's there or doesn't matter who's there, Sith, Dark Lord, Jedi, all that stuff. They don't care. They're just doing their thing. So,
maybe.
I don't know. But Jonesy, what about you, sir?
Well, I think they care that you don't break their stuff.
Well, yeah, it's more work for them. I give you that, But and also the other thing, and we'll get into that scene in a little bit. But we'll go ahead, Jonesy.
Yeah, I had the same note that Albert did. That this was a definite callback to Anakin's exchange with Watto in particular on Phantom Menace, where he said they seem nice to me, which I thought was nice and actually it fit really, really well. I didn't really like this scene, and it was really for one reason, and this is super nitpicky, so I apologize in advance. When she's scraping the fish, like it does nothing.
That's not how you scale a fish.
It does nothing to it. Even when she's acting like it's like, no, it's just a prop. And at first I thought, okay, maybe the scene just wasn't finished, but I think Ryan said, no, this is like completely done. And the acting and the puppetry, all those things were amazing. They were really awesome. So I'm not discounting any of that. It was just there was no filleting of fish or descaling of fish going on in that scene. And that was just like really kind of took me out of it there. Again, something
called
so
out
small.
by a true Texan.
That's not how you gut a fish.
That's right. So anyway, I was okay with this being cut. It didn't add anything for me, and I wouldn't have missed anything. I didn't miss anything.
All right.
That knife is in the visual dictionary, by the way, for those of you keeping score at home.
Yeah, well, and they use it more than once too in the movie. So you can see it several times. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the next one, which is the caretaker village sequence, or as we come to know it, lesson 3, which was for me, it was another disappointment in a way. I liked what Luke was saying at the beginning with the whole, what a true Jedi would do now. He would ignore it and blah, blah, blah. I liked where he was going with that, and I liked where his head was. And I like even Rey kind of countering that and kind of being like Luke was back in the day when he was a student, and he was kind of, just did his thing. But then it kind of gets lost some ways. And then when she's running, it seemed like she was just running on an invisible bicycle to me. It wasn't like the Phantom Menace where they're like, taking off or whatever. I don't know. It seemed weird when she was running. I could be wrong. But, and then the only other, well, go ahead. I'll let you guys go. Jonesy, go ahead.
I liked it.
Oh, of course.
So,
I'm the grumpy Mike, as it's well established now. I'm just a grump, but go ahead.
It wasn't perfect, but overall I liked it. There were a couple callbacks though, and one was the back in greater numbers even almost had a tone like Alec Guinness did back in A New Hope.
Oh yeah.
And then
of course.
Yeah, and then when you heard the sounds of the ships, Luke's look up it just struck in my mind. I don't know. I didn't go back and look, but it reminded me of when Yoda, when they were about to go into the cave with Luke on Empire, the kind of look up that he did and look down. It just reminded me of that. I don't know if that was even intentional or if that was even a thing or if it was real or if it's just my mind playing tricks on me. But anyway, but the more I thought about the scene, it's almost like Luke was trying to teach Rey here, don't limit yourself, and why not evolve the ways. And he drives that home a little bit later. And so I thought this was I thought it was a good sequence. It was a little funny that the caretaker helped Rey not look like such a crazy person. Like she was do this, do that.
It kind of, it goes against what they were kind of sizing her up earlier. They're complaining about the boulder, and then they want her to wave the lightsaber in the air, and she does it, and then they're all dancing and having fun, and then maybe they're like that. They just kind of like, all right, we forgive you. It's no big deal. We're all having a party now. We're drunk too, so that kind of helps. That.
What I really liked.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I really liked about it though was Luke's levity was really jarringly out of character for it. Even though I liked the delivery of it, I thought it was nice, but it was kind of out of character. But what I really liked was Rey just jumped all over him that her real friends are really dying, and it really put him back in his place. And the look that Hamill gave, I thought that was a great exchange. And it really, I thought it got the story kind of moving back where it needed to go.
I liked it, but the only problem was with him laughing prior to that and kind of like in that joking thing. I didn't think you would run so fast and all this other stuff. Like I wouldn't, to me, that's sloppy teaching, so to speak. And I don't think Luke would do that, so to speak. I get where he's going with his lesson, and I like that. I like the overall idea of it. And like I said in the beginning here, I liked that he was saying, what a true Jedi Knight would do. I liked that he was thinking all that stuff. And then he mentions the Jedi text, and they would say, don't do this, and you got to have balance and all this stuff. I love that stuff. And then you're right. After he does his laughing and stuff, and she calls him out on his thing, I wish there was some kind of other dialogue there, but Ryan's got to go with the laugh track there. And when Rey puts him in his place, I like that they were butting heads. I always did like that whole butting heads of the student and the master, which happens anyway. But I like that dynamic. And then I like you said, that look that he gave at the end was like almost the beginning of him starting to come back out into the Force and getting to that, going up and looking for Leia and all that stuff. But Albert, chime in, sir.
Yeah, that's the same note that I took. I said not much from Luke, maybe a hint that he's been wrong too there finally, that he's been wrong this whole time. That's kind of what I got from that look, which I think says a lot about Hamill and what he can do with just, facial expressions and that kind of thing. So that's my take, at least on the last part of it. This was a scene that was pulled again because of pacing and timing. It was too long, he said. And he felt like ending that scene on Kylo Ren failed you, I won't, was enough to kind of keep the story moving and without giving you all of this. But I just want to go back to lesson 3 because I don't even know that this is a definitive lesson 3. I think he most recently just came out and said that, hey, he's going to leave that up to somebody else to do if they want to. But if it's not lesson 3, then what the heck was lesson 3? Like, why would Luke just say there's 3 lessons and not have a third lesson? Or, I don't know. That bothers me in either way, if it is or it isn't.
Who's grumpy now, huh? You all think it's me, grumpy. But apparently it's Albert now. But go ahead.
Yep. No, I wish they would just say, yeah, this was lesson 3, and whether it was executed or not, the way we think Luke should have acted or things should have played out, then that's up for debate. But
now, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe the two you can remember, and maybe one of our audience members, if any of us don't remember this. But wasn't he dancing with her in the book?
Yeah, he was.
See, now I would have liked that in the movie if they were dancing and then they had that exchange, which would have been interesting that they were dancing. I found that interesting. So I would think that would have been a better exchange and delivery of it. Again, I think if we cut some stuff out of, Canto Bight and brought this in, I think it would have added more levity to things, I guess. Because that face expression at the end, again, it's one of those things like we were talking about last week is that extra few seconds kind of makes things a little bit better. I don't know. But Jonesy, did you anything else to say? Albert, what do you got else to say? Anything else?
Yeah, there was one important thing that we got to see in this scene is that Chewie finally got some dinner.
That's true. And
He was hanging out there with
that
R2.
wasn't in Chewie and the Porgs book, the novel that I read. Oh, the book that I read. Yeah,
No,
novel.
I was
yeah.
worried about him.
Yeah.
He's a growing boy.
Yeah, well, you know, and R2's just hanging out. Very Return of the Jedi there, actually. It reminded me of the whole thing. It was good. I even liked the music and everything. It's just those few wonky moments with Luke. It was like an up and down thing for me. I don't know, but overall, I thought it was pretty darn good. But all right, let's move on to where are we? We're on the Father Year chase. I don't really want to get into that because it was kind of okay. They're in a chase. Star Wars is known for chases, so I don't know. Jonesy, what did you think of this?
Yeah, it was a good cut. The bathhouse I thought was ridiculously out of place.
Yeah.
So that was too much. And Ryan said in the commentary, this was diminishing returns with a sequence this long. And he's absolutely right. The thing I liked about the scene though was that they had the speed, the speedometers going on for both the camera and the Father Years. And so I found myself watching that through bits and parts of it just because I was curious. They were going about, somewhere between 40 and 55 miles an hour. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, this was a good cut. The bathhouse was that was horrible.
Albert?
Yeah, I'm glad they cut it. I think there would have. So I would agree. The original cut's probably best. However, there are probably some pieces in here that I would have opted to throw in. Not the whole sequence, but some pieces. And I'm not talking about Kedpin's show clock.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing that. But we can talk about him. But no,
we don't
I
have
would
to.
have put.
We won't. But
yeah. They can put, I thought they could have maybe used some of the other footage because the line, and maybe it's just me, but that whole line about what Finn says about, hey, what we did back there, trashing the place like that kind of thing. It was like, yeah, they did, but they really didn't do that much damage. And when you watch this sequence, you realize, holy smokes, they really trashed the place, which you don't get the context there. At least I didn't get that full context of what they did. Again, this is prior to reading the novel. So maybe if they would have just not put the whole thing back in there, but maybe just a few more scenes from that and spliced them in there, then we could have got the full context of them just trashing the city like that. Kedpin, Showclop, Lexo, Sugar, and Stuart Ghana. Why not put those guys in there somewhere?
I'm sure you would love that. All right, let's get into the Mega Destroyer incursion. Not much to say there, really. I again, it's one of those things, and I don't know. I'll throw it. What do you think, Albert?
This was which one was this one? Oh, yeah. This was, I don't know. I thought there was some good stuff in here. I would say there's some good stuff in here. Like that scene of, it starts with Kylo just standing there, which I thought was really cool. Standing on the bridge. Just more of his like grandfather kind of stuff, and then he's, I think Ryan Johnson said this was one of the painful ones for him to cut. But we got the BB-90, which, we talked about maybe in the review show or at some point about how we were kind of upset that we didn't get to see him much. We did finally get to see him here. And I could have done without the comedic bit with Rose's hair and all of that. That was probably could have gone. But again, this was something that was removed for pacing. I think the big loss here was Tom Hardy, because we knew going into the movie that he was rumored to be in it, and then it was confirmed.
That wasn't a loss. That was okay that they cut that. That was
I'm just saying that his little part was in there. I don't really like the way that scene.
That would have been
shot.
might have been my tipping point had they left that in there. I might have gone fully off the edge then. But
his whole accent and everything. I don't know. It didn't really work for me. I think when I initially heard that because I think when we knew this scene, well, there was a rumor that this scene was going to be in the movie, that someone was going to recognize him as, FN 2187, and then that, oh, hey, congratulations, you got promoted. We knew that part of it. We didn't know where it was going to be. I thought that piece alone would be kind of interesting. It would be a nice little comedic moment, and it felt Star Warsy to me. Now that I've seen it, though, I didn't really like it. It was way too long, and it took too long to play out, and I don't know. It didn't do a lot for me. So, yeah, and then I don't even know what they said, that whole bocce hi-ho thing that they did. I don't know if that was like a boot
you remember
camp
the
thing.
eeny, meeny, miny, mo thing, but you don't remember this.
Oh, yeah. Winnie Wonga or whatever.
Don't do that. Don't. No.
Yeah, it was batch 8. Hey-oh.
Oh.
So it was their batch.
I gotcha.
Gotcha, yeah. But no, Wanawinga was the other one.
Let's not do that.
Wanawinga may go.
Yeah, all right.
The dialogue was just too camp. Yeah, it was just too campy. The sequence, they were right. I mean, Ryan was right. This took way too long to get through.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. The smack on the backside, I guess we'll call it, was just over the top and a bit ridiculous. This was also in the last episode, the disconnect. In this scene, Rose is the one reaching for the blaster. In the book, it was DJ reaching for the blaster. So little disconnect there, not a big deal. I did chuckle a little bit though when they finally got the elevator door shut and then the stormtroopers came in the backside. I did think that was a little bit cute and funny, I guess. But yeah, this was a great cut. But yeah, Ryan said this may have been his favorite scene. So that made me wince just a little bit.
Yeah, because I don't know what he's... Anyway, let's go on to Rose bites the hand that taunts her, which is when she bites good old Hux, who looks like more and more like a foolish leader that doesn't know what he's really doing, to be honest. But what did you guys think of that? I didn't think too much of this. I'm kind of glad they cut it. I thought it made it kind of, I don't know, maybe too childish, I guess you could say. I don't know, the whole biting. I get why she did it, and I probably would have too, but I don't know. It just didn't do anything, and I'm glad he cut it, and I think he made the right decision. But I don't know, Jonesy, what do you think?
No, agree. Good cut. We didn't need any more Hux humiliation. The only thing that was a little off-putting, the backdrop or green screen or whatever they were doing behind Hux was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So assuming it wasn't cut, but I liked the Automach reference. That was the only time it gave us a little bit more gravity on the medallion, which I thought would have been nice to have at some point. But yeah.
Well, I think he's thinking that what DJ said was enough, but I don't think I agree with you. I like the explanation of it or the speaking of it and acknowledging that. And they could have put it in that scene, really, when they were there. They just didn't have to have the whole biting of the hand thing. So I don't know. But anyway.
I didn't even care so much about that part. It was just the over-the-top reactions to it. And the really close-in shots didn't really work for me in this sequence either, especially with Hux. So it was, but yeah, so good cut.
Albert?
Yep. Yeah. I didn't, in fact, you could almost see his nose hair, the way that it was shot. But yeah, she spits something out. Like, so was that the glove or was that part of his finger?
I would imagine the glove, because I can't.
I thought
because he took that like a macho man. If that was his finger,
I thought it was
or
just
any part
her
of his skin
showing the motion of spitting something out.
Oh, maybe.
Well,
leather isn't really tasty. It's not like a steak, so could be why she did it. So
yeah, but no, this. Bye bye.
Yeah, I guess it seemed like very SNL like overall. This point with the biting and then him saying execute them and then walks off like he's a badass or something. I don't know. Just didn't go well. I'm glad they cut it. So, but anyway, anything else to say, Albert? I'm sorry I cut in on you.
Nope, no, that was it. And I think the next up is the Phasma squealed like a whoop dog.
Yeah, again, this is the one part where Finn doesn't deliver or John doesn't deliver his acting. In my mind, now, I could be wrong. You guys completely disagree, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I like this sequence, though. I like what was going on. And then this might be another discrepancy, and I think we mentioned it last week on the novelization where I don't recall Finn having the axe to cut her hand off. I remember it being the baton thing. I don't know. Maybe it does do that or not. I'm not sure. But I liked it because I liked what he was saying to her. I just thought the lines were delivered wonky, and I liked what Phasma says. We got more of what Phasma than we've ever had in the whole 2 movies that she's been in. I liked what she said and stuff. So I don't know. Jonesy, what about you?
I like that we saw Phasma's ruthlessness in this one finally.
Yeah, that was
direct
nice.
Tie back to the book. Yeah, that was good. I mean, and explaining a little bit of Force Awakens, which was probably not necessary, but I would have liked to have seen this sequence actually finished, all the effects and everything, and maybe somehow intertwining this one with the final sequence. I think the final sequence was probably better overall. But I really liked seeing Phasma's ruthlessness. I liked that part. That was really cool. And then finally someone loses a limb.
Yes. And you know what? The down part of this whole thing was actually Rose and BB-8 showing up on the walker and say, hey, you need a lift. That is, again, we go
back.
That
dialogue change was a good change.
No,
yeah.
It was horrible. But that's just...
No, you liked this better than the movie?
No, I liked what was in the movie was better. But no,
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're agreeing then.
Yeah. No, we agree. I'm just saying this particular deleted scene, it was going pretty well. And then you get them showing up and it's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
We go back to SNL again. All of a sudden we're back to Saturday Night Live and, live from Starkiller Base, that type of thing. But I don't know. Albert, go ahead. I'm very grumpy and I'm going to get called out on it. But go ahead.
Yep, you are.
You're both going to fire me. Is what you're going to do at the end of the night. But go ahead.
Right. Why was I had put a note in here. Why was that platform rising? That's the part I didn't understand. Was that covered in the book anywhere?
I don't know if that was unfinished. Maybe that was like around them. Maybe there should have been another platform around them. Maybe I'm not sure, but
maybe. Yeah. But it was literally. I mean, it was visually going up, and they had the stormtroopers crawling up the ladders on all sides and that kind of thing. But I didn't really get why that was going up. How convenient, because now there's nowhere for them to run. But again, it was another pacing thing. I think we talked about this, and we made this as part of our news segment for one of the shows a few shows back. But one of the things that we talked about was I think I mentioned that I didn't like the way it looked when she was shooting the blaster. And when you listen to the commentary, he mentioned that originally it was shot in reverse and they reversed it. And he actually called it it was very student film like. And he thought that was a cool thing to do. So I don't know. I guess I still don't like the way it was the sequence when she's firing the blaster. I think it looks weird to me.
Well, because you think one of them, I think you even mentioned, and not to cut you off, is you would think that one of them would have shot her at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't that fast, but I don't know. It was just the timing of it all just looked odd to me. And now I know why. It's because he filmed it. He actually filmed it the other way, I guess, in reverse of this, and then played it backwards in reverse. So, but I don't know. Overall, I like this sequence, I think, better than what we got in the movie. So I'm going to give a point to the deleted scene on this one.
Look at that. What's our tally? Are you even
deleted scene 6, original 5.
Oh wow, it's that close. I didn't think it was. All right.
It's good. We're coming down the wire.
Well, it's riveting stuff here. Jonesy, what say you?
That's about a good on that one.
All right.
I like the finished finished product better than this one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Now we get into now this one I really don't have much of anything on, is when Rose and Finn go home to where they belong. It's the visuals that were completed on it were cool. But I'm glad they cut this because it wasn't really that important, I guess you could say. We knew they were escaping, so why did we gotta keep going again, following the thread? Actually, what I would have loved to have seen is a scene with Rey getting either standing over Kylo debating on killing him, or getting on Snoke's shuttle and taking off and then meeting Chewie. That would have been interesting. But Jonesy, how about you?
I liked it. The part that I liked about it was Finn accepting his place. And then I liked this subtle moment with Rose where she kind of glanced at him, which made the crate scenes make a little bit more sense of that emotional attachment or that interest that was developing that got a little lost in the movie. So for that alone, it was small. It was very short. So I would have liked to have seen it left in. I thought it did just a little bit for the characters to help bring them together a little bit.
Fair enough. Albert?
Yep, I would agree. Almost verbatim what I wrote down, that I like the fact that it was kind of tying them a little bit closer together. And this is another one that was another 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was. So I probably should have just left it in there. He did mention that the reason why they took it out was because he felt like they didn't need another, that this was another decision point for him. Do I stay? Do I go? And by this point, is he really struggling with that anymore? And I guess the final answer was no. He really, the audience should have accepted by now that he's not going anywhere. He is part of the rebellion, and he's going to do whatever he needs to, which culminates in him, potentially almost risking his entire life to save everybody. So,
and then in episode 9, he's on a desert planet, and they have to go find him to bring him back into the fold, which would be funny actually if they did that. But anyway, we'll get into Rey and Chewie on the Falcon, which I thought was. I'm kind of glad they didn't go with it. I can see why they didn't go with it, but I felt like the thing that jumped out at me is you would think Rey, not that they would have noticed because there was all blast of fire going on there. You couldn't see who was there, but you would kind of get the idea, like the conversation that they had earlier with the whole, you want me to stand out in front with a laser sword, blah, 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 blah. And I thought like she would have picked up in the Force that was Luke being fired upon, and then she would want to go help, but she's like, let's go this way. Like, I don't know. I mean, she was just there doing her thing. And granted, the walkers are, shooting. There's no TIE fighters around. So maybe it's best she goes the other way. I don't know. Anyway, Jonesy, what do you think?
I liked it. It was subtle humor, but the final cut was a little more dramatic and it was more heroic. So this was a good cut. I like the final version better. I don't really have anything else to add on it.
All right, Albert, your final thoughts on it? Yeah,
Yep,
same.
I would
same
say
thing.
get rid of this scene. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
No
All right.
thanks.
All right. So the last one we have is the costumes and creatures of Canto Bight, which I didn't see this one. So I'll throw it to you, Jonesy. I think you saw this one and you put it in the notes. So I'll give it to you. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, it was in the deleted scene bucket, but it's really not a deleted scene. It's really a compilation that they had created with the music from the Canto Bight. And it's just going around the casino and looking at all the creatures. So I thought this was really nice. Say what you will about Canto Bight, but the creatures and the costumes and the makeup, the actors, it was a really interesting scene. Call back to A New Hope was you could look at these things and find something new and unique, like just for hours probably. And so I really like that you got a really great appreciation. And some of those characters got cut from the final movie. So it's good to give them a little bit of that credit of all the work and all the things that go into it and just that little 15 seconds of fame. I think the whole sequence was, I don't know, maybe a minute and a half, something like that. So I thought it was a nice little number.
Especially the George Washington alien that I liked when we first saw the picture in the I think it was Vanity Fair article there. That goes back to episodes of last summer and stuff. So if you're curious what that was, that's what that was. Before we came on here, I said, it would have been great if you just had, maybe there is one in the background. I'll have to look. Is like a Bith walking by with an instrument. That would have been kind of cool. Like a little, hey, that type of thing. Or they have the yeah. Go ahead.
That was one of the fun things is they had the band playing and they had these. It was like a organic, like mouthpiece thing that is extended, and the balls at the end of it actually expanded and contracted, and so it was like a sack, and so it was actually really cool. I was like, man, there's some of those things that are really intricate and really neat, which I think the documentary goes into quite a bit as well. And so some of those little details were really neat to see.
Cool. Albert, did you see this at all?
Yeah, no, I did. I watched the whole sequence, and it's not technically a deleted scene. This was all like B-roll stuff, footage that they didn't use at the end of the day when they were kind of splicing it all together. But I thought all the guys, like the set designer and the creature designer, and then Mike Kaplan, who's the costume. I think I want to say he was nominated, but anyways, I thought they did a great job with all of this, and it's kind of a shame that we didn't get to see more of these characters. And I really wish, to like what you said, Mike, I really wish they would have thrown some of the old aliens in here. And I know that was one of the initial things that, the movie got some feedback on, was that there were really no new alien or old aliens that were brought in. So it was kind of like this whole other world. But, the universe or the galaxy is a large place, and, maybe it makes sense that you're not going to always see the same stuff over and over again. But it was a cool little segment. Like I said, it was neat to see the characters and see them up close, because the only time we really get to see them outside of the opening shots is during the father year race, and there's just so much going on. It's just moving too quickly that you don't really get to kind of kick back and just appreciate the amount of detail that are in some of these characters. And they really did. I thought they did a great job with them.
Kind of like the Ready Player One battle. There was a lot going on there that you didn't see.
There is.
But anyway, we'll continue, sir.
No, that was really it. It was good. And this is the kind of stuff that I was looking forward to. This feels like, bonus material, and not obviously stuff that would need to be in the movie itself. This is stuff that I would expect to see on a behind the scenes kind of thing. So it was cool. I liked it.
Excellent. Well, I'll have to check it out. I didn't check this one out. This particular one, but I'll have to hunt it down and look for it and all that stuff. But that will do it for tonight. Next week, we're going to do the director and the Jedi, kind of a review, kind of our commentary on their commentary, I guess you could say. So it's the commentary of the commentary, riveting stuff next week and stuff like that. So final thoughts, guys. I'll throw it to you, Albert, first. What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Keeping score, the deleted scenes won, so it was 8-6.
Wow.
If we include the number 14, which is that creatures. If not, it was 7-6. So I guess final thoughts are there was a lot of good stuff here. I was happy to see it. And there's some stuff in here that I felt like, if you would have just added 5 more minutes, and I don't understand all the inner workings and the reasons why, but there's some stuff in here that I felt like that they just would have thrown back in there. I thought it would have just enhanced the movie a lot more than having pulled it. So But it was good to see it, at least, like you said. At least we got to see it in the deleted
True.
scenes.
Fair enough. I would agree with you that he made the right call on the stuff that goes in it went into the movies, but there's those few extra seconds that would have, I think, improved it. But hey, I'm not the director, and like you, I don't know the ins and outs of stuff like that. I try to kind of understand the director and the writer's mindset and how they could go about it, putting it on film. Like, you know what I mean? Like we mentioned with Ready Player One, just as an example, like the things that happen in the book, you couldn't translate onto film. And the things that, like Ryan's coming up with and JJ or whatever, they write it down or whatever. And then you say to yourself, and I go back to Empire Dreams, where I think Lucas was saying, I need to just kind of invent this stuff because I didn't know how, it was going to be or how it was going to translate and stuff like that. So, but I'll leave it at that. Jonesy, what do you think? Final thoughts.
Right. I usually don't like deleted scenes. I usually don't even bother with them because there's a reason why they were cut, and they're usually garbage. And most of the ones I've watched on Blu-rays have been utter garbage. So this was actually a really pleasant surprise because I didn't have a lot of expectation, and I really enjoyed really almost all of them. There were just, I think, maybe 3 in there that I really just didn't enjoy much at all, and thought they were great cuts. But each one of these has a moment. So it was really nice to be able to see those. So yeah, if people haven't gone and watched them, I think it's worth a watch.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we guess we'll see you guys next week. If you want to like us, find us, or find out any more information on the show, just check our show description in the show description and the episode description there, and you'll be able to find anything you want. So with that, thank you for listening, and we will see you guys next week. You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.